Masking is quite a powerful technique, and it can make characters or objects appear behind sections of an image. But what if the objects don't have a crisp edge, like these bushes? How does one mask them?
Keep watching, and Randy will show you how!
This is Randy.
And Patrick.
With another Create Studio Pro tutorial. I found this garden scene in Pixabay, and I want to create a video where the gardener walks along the path behind these bushes. The technique to accomplish this is to create a mask for the bushes and use track matte to pull the bushes into the foreground. Here I will show what the final mask looks like. You will notice the mask have a jagged edge. I will explain why shortly. But before creating the mask, let's get the gardener's actions and animation created first. After dragging the gardener onto the canvas, I will start with a walking action. Since she will be walking from off-screen, I will disable the starting animation which puts her immediately walking. Since I want her entering the scene from the left, I need to flip the direction she is walking in. Next, scale the character according to the size of the objects in the image and position her where you want the walking action to stop. Make sure you have enough time for the walking action by stretching it right on the timeline. Move the playhead a few frames after the start. Then mouse-click on Add Animation above the timeline. For this situation, I will create a position and scale animation. You can tell both are active by the light gray box surrounding them. With a walking action, you will want a linear easing, so click Easing and change the default to linear. With the playhead at the first keyframe, move the gardener left of the screen and scale her down a bit. When I play that, she is walking too fast, so to rectify that problem, move the last keyframe further to the right. Now when I play it, the walking is slower and looks about right. After thinking about it, I want one of her legs left of the bush, so I will readjust her ending position. Next, I will drag the end marker, that vertical bar at the end of the track, left while the playhead is on the ending keyframe. I am looking for the time when the gardener is transitioning from the walking motion to the resting pose. Next, add an idle action followed by the thumbs up action. Now let's create a simple mask for the bush the gardener is standing by. The first thing to do is to duplicate the image and drag it to a track above the gardener. The bush shape is circular on top and rectangular on the bottom, and the rounded rectangle will work great for a mask. Click on Shape above the canvas and then click on the first icon. Size and position the rectangle so it aligns with the bottom edges of the bush. The top of the rectangle should be placed on top of the bush. To make the shape round on top, hold down the Shift key and mouse-click on that small circle at the top left of the shape and drag it to the center of the rectangle. Align the circular edge with the edge of the bush. I could round the top right edge also, but since the gardener did not go that far, it is not necessary.
Hey Randy, this does not look like the mask you showed earlier. What gives?
My intent is to demonstrate the difference between a smooth edge and a jagged edge.
Well, get on with it then.
Yes, sir. Move the shape track to the beginning and stretch it out for the length of the video. Now select the image above the character and on the right, click on Track Matte. When the Track Matte panel appears, change the mask from None to the shape we just created, which is Rounded Rectangle. And also change the type to Alpha. So, the bush is now in front of the gardener. However, there is a problem. The edge of the bush is way too sharp and that is not realistic. One way to fix that issue is to feather the mask edge. To do that, click on the star on the far left to open the Effects menu. Click on Edge Feather and drag it onto the rounded rectangle. You can change the feather strength by clicking on the word Feather in the top right. Feathering the mask makes the bush look better, but it still does not have that organic feeling because the shape is so smooth. When I examine masking techniques in other video software packages, I notice they often use a jagged edge mask. The jagged edge, along with feathering the edge, gives the mask an organic feeling that the smooth edge mask cannot. So I created some jagged edge masks and saved them to my scenes. I created an oval mask and a rectangular mask. So how did I do that? Start with a pre-built shape and then add the triangle shape to the canvas. Decrease the size of the triangle and position it, pointing out from the shape. Duplicate the triangle over and over and over until you have the shape covered with these small triangles. Tip: it is better if the jagged edge is not uniform, so do not waste time trying to get them to align perfectly. This will be tedious, so when you are done, you are going to want to save this mask to your My Scenes. The way to do that is to enter Command A or Control A on a PC to select all the shapes. Then enter Command G or Control G to put them into a group. Rename the group with a meaningful name, then right mouse click and select Save to My Scenes. Here I will delete the group on the timeline to show you another tip. When you drag the mask onto the canvas, it consists of a group of one circle and a bunch of triangles. So if you try to increase the duration of the mask by lengthening the track, you will see that it does not work. What I do is to take a snapshot of this group. Now when I drag the snapshot onto the canvas, I can change the duration for as long as needed. Okay, let's go back to the bush project and apply the jagged edge mask to the bush in front of the gardener. First, I will delete the rounded rectangle, and when I do, the gardener disappears because the background image on top has no mask. Next, I will drag onto the canvas the oval mask, and because I may need to change the time duration, I will immediately take a snapshot of the mask. Delete the oval mask with the Delete key and drag the snapshot onto the canvas. Resize and position so the mask is at the edge of the bush.
I see Randy is duplicating the snapshot multiple times and moving them around to cover the bush.
Thanks, Patrick, and we can combine other shapes with the snapshot also. I will add a triangle here, then duplicate it a few times to cover the remainder of the bush. That seems to cover the bush entirely. To see all the tracks making up the mask, I need to drag the canvas up. Now select all the tracks. When they're all selected, enter Command G. Let's rename this group Right Bush. Okay, select the image track and then click on Track Matte. Change the mask to Right Bush. To see how our mask is working, drag the gardener behind the bush. You can definitely see the spiky points, but watch what happens when the edge feather effect is applied. The higher the feather strength, the less pointy the spikes become. Play with the feather strength until it looks natural. Let's compare the different masking approaches side by side. The bush on the left is from the smooth mask, while the bush on the right is from the jagged mask.
The bush on the right looks more bushy-y.
I'm not sure bushy-y is a word, but you're right, it is more bushy-y. For the bonus tip, let's give the bush some movement. This effect will do a lot to liven up a static image. For my scene, I want the bush to have some movement while the gardener is in the idle action. Where the playhead is positioned is where I want to split the right bush track, but unfortunately, Create Studio cannot cut a group track, so I will shorten the track and duplicate it. Rename the duplicate to Right Bush 2 and move it after the original and lengthen the duration. At the time where the first mask ends and the second mask begins, I will cut the background image. After stretching the background track to the end of the video, Click on Track Matte and set the mask to Right Bush 2. Next, select the image track and the mask track and group them. There are several motions you can add to the group track. An easy one is to apply the jitter effect. Open the effects menu and drag jitter onto the group in the timeline. Click on the word jitter to open its control panel. For the bush, I prefer a speed to be at 100%. Then, to see what the jitter effect looks like, click on the Start button. It has too much movement, so let's see what it looks like if the strength is decreased to a lower value. It looks good. The other motion I will give the bush is a slight rocking back and forth using the rotation animation. The first thing to do is set the bush's anchor point. Open the Properties panel for the group. Notice in the middle of the panel there is an anchor section. In this case, I want to control precisely where the anchor point is, so I will click on the button that says Show Anchor Point. See that purple point in the middle of the canvas? That is the anchor point. Now by clicking the mouse on that purple point, it can be moved anywhere. I will choose the bottom center of the bush. Now when a rotation animation is added, this will be the point where the rotation pivots on. Click on Add Animation and select the rotation operation. The default duration of an animation is 25 frames, which is way too long. So advance the playhead 3 frames by triple-clicking on this double triangle above the timeline. With your mouse, grab that last keyframe and drag it left to the playhead position. Up in the Properties panel, set a rotation value to 2 degrees. Add another animation, select Rotation, advance the playhead 3 frames, and drag the last keyframe back to the playhead. This time, set the rotation value to a -2 degrees. You can continue to add as many animations as you want, switching them from positive to negative rotation angles. So that is how to give a static image a region of motion.
Okay, I admit, that looks pretty cool.
To finish the tutorial, I need to mask off the bushes on the left of the picture. I use the same jagged masks technique to create the mask, and here is what it looks like. Use edge feather and a feather strength of 6%. Track Matte can only have a single mask, so select the right bush mask and the left bush's mask and group them. Then rename the combined mask to bushes. Select the image track and open the Track Matte panel. In the Track Matte panel, set the mask to bushes. There you go. That is how to mask objects that do not have a straight edge, and also how to give motion to a region of a static image.
Hey, Randy, this is a good time to remind everyone that a bird in the bush is worth 2 in the hand.
I think you have your proverb backwards.
No, I'm right. Hey, everybody, have a good day and happy creating.